All right, welcome everyone to another Facebook Live Did You Know series, and thank you for joining us. So, first couple things before we get started, like the smoke out in our community right now, we do know that we have a half screen. You can see all of us. We apologize for that. We will try as we're working through this to get it fixed, but if not, we do know there's a half screen. So, thank you for letting us know. A few things as we get on before I introduce who we are, my guests today, and our topic. Make sure, I think today's topic is going to generate some questions. So if you have any questions, please send them in. If we don't answer them during this Facebook Live, we will make sure we answer them. And also hit your notification button so you can stay connected to the Sheriff's Office. But before we get started, as we continue to learn more information regarding the suicide bombing and coordinated attack at the Kabul airport this morning, our thoughts and prayers go out to all of our brave United States military service members, Afghan citizens, and all the families that are involved and have been affected with today's events. So today's topic is about veterans, and we will be discussing some of the programs the Washoe County Sheriff's Office does both inside of our facility and outside in the community with our veterans, and how we're helping our veteran staff members, our veterans in the community, and veterans that may unfortunately be incarcerated within our detention facility. So if you are a veteran or you are a family member or a loved one of a veteran, I would ask you please to take the next 10 minutes, stop what you're doing, and listen to this Facebook Live, because we will be discussing how you access your VA benefits and your health care. We know the Sheriff's Office, we understand that some veterans that are coming back from deployment face some challenges, whether that's combat stress, post-traumatic stress disorder, feelings of isolation, mental health issues, loneliness, or the lack of access or knowledge of available resources. And I believe my guests today are going to provide some of those answers for you. So let me introduce them. So to my left, I have Deputy James Sylvester, who is also a veteran, who runs our veteran unit. Thank you for your service.
Thank you, sir.
Next to him, I have Division Manager Kim Lentz, who oversees our detention and is also a veteran. Thank you for your service.
My honor.
And then I have Chief Deputy Jeff Clark, who is the Chief Deputy over our detention facility and is a veteran. And thank you for your service. And then over to my far right, I have Donald.
Troy Storman.
Troy Storman from the Veteran Outreach Specialist at the United States Department of Veteran Affairs, or the Reno Vet Center. And thank you for your service.
Thank you, sir.
And then I have Donald Stockton, the Outreach Program Specialist at the Veterans Integration to Academic Leadership, or VITAL Initiative. Thank you for your service. And then I have Sue Cooper, a licensed clinical social worker from the Veterans Justice Outreach Coordinator at the VA Sierra Nevada Healthcare System. Thank you for joining us. So let's jump right into kind of the veterans in the detention facility and our veterans unit. So that was started and opened up in March of 2020. It allows our veterans who have served our country to realize that they're not alone when they get incarcerated. It is a program that provides whole health wraparound resources. So Deputy Sylvester, tell us a little bit about the VA barracks and what are you doing there?
First off, very fortunate to continue to be involved and work with veterans, and I appreciate this opportunity for us to address our veteran offenders, our veterans that are in custody. Basically, what we do is we try and identify our veterans that are currently housed in our facility. We want to remove them from general population and put them in a housing unit specific for veterans. So that way we can really lean upon veterans helping veterans help themselves. We try and connect them with services that they have earned through participating in the military and access to a Veterans Justice Outreach Coordinator like Sue, veterans service officers. We also bring in some outside assistance. We have a yoga instructor that addresses a holistic approach to mental health and stress management. We have a substance abuse counselor that works with them on a weekly basis. We have mental health providers that when they're able to really address some of their specific needs. But really what we want to do is make sure that no veteran leaves our facility without a warm, safe place to sleep and a plan for what their next steps are going to be to get back on their feet and break the recidivism cycle.
And I know sometimes we work with the veteran courts, but I know you've brought in some speakers.
Yes.
Who are those speakers, and why do you bring them in?
Um, so a couple of the speakers that we've had, we did have a veteran named retired Navy SEAL Michael Jaco. He came in and addressed kind of the emotional well-being and side to kind of remind all of our veterans that we are in this together and we're not forgotten. We did have a defense attorney come in and volunteer his time to just address some general legal questions to really put a lot of our veterans at ease as they go through their criminal justice process.
Awesome. And so one question is, I get asked a lot in the community is, how do you know if someone's a veteran?
Excellent question. It starts with when a veteran comes into our facility, they need to identify as a veteran. And we have learned there's a study that was produced by the Department of Justice that asking someone if they're a veteran when they're in a time of crisis, like being arrested, doesn't always elicit the best response. But asking if you have military service is more successful in drawing out, yes, I was in the military, or yes, I did serve. So an arrestee would identify as a veteran, at which point that I would get that information and I would go interview them. And upon completion of the interview, with their permission, I would verify their service with the VA, and then we address what their needs are and how to get them involved in the veterans program and how to start case managing and making sure that we do have a plan for them.
Awesome. And one last thing before I switch over to Sue here. Do you have any success stories so far? We had to kind of modify because of COVID, shut that unit down. We've reopened it, but have we had any success of trying to link them to services and reduce that recidivism?
Absolutely. Two major stories that come to mind. We had a young man that he was approximately 24, 25 years old and had been in the system a number of arrests. And upon pulling him into the program, and he took a lot of initiative upon himself to set up a bit of a mentor within the veteran population that we had. And through his desire, his aptitude, his willingness to really put in the hard work, we were able to connect him with a apprentice program as an electrician. And he has since reached out to me and let me know that he has rebuilt relationships with his family, gainfully employed, able to afford his own housing, able to buy himself a new vehicle, and really focus on sobriety and staying out of the system and being the best parent and spouse that he could be. And we also have a young lady who she had a pretty rough experience in the military. Unfortunately, that led to substance abuse, which brought her into our facility. We have since been able to connect her with various programs to get her service connection established. So she now has health insurance. She has worked with Sparks Job Connect and is gainfully employed. And she's doing so well. They promoted her to manager, and she let me know just the other day that she is closing in on 1 year sober.
Awesome. Well, thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you, sir.
So now let's switch over to the Veterans Justice Outreach Programs, which actually have been going on in the detention facility for over 6 years through Marianne Moss, and today Sue Cooper's filling in. So, Sue, what is the goal of the Veterans Justice Outreach?
So the goal of our program is to reach the veterans that are in the criminal justice system, whether they're incarcerated, whether they're in a veterans treatment court, however their justice involved. We have the specialists like myself, Marianne, we target that population. So we do outreach to jails. So I work in the barracks. I come do outreach. So the goal is to link these veterans that could easily fall through the cracks, to link them to the VA for services, whether it's mental health, substance use, housing. So that's kind of the overarching goal of the program.
Wonderful. And so you kind of already hit on it. What are some of the other services you offer in the justice involved individuals besides that? Anything else?
Yeah, so the main thing that I do here on the unit is I do a lot of planning, like pre-release planning with them, so that when they hit the streets, like Deputy Sylvester said, they have a place to go, which is so important. So we link them to transitional housing, to mental health. We just kind of try to get a good solid plan before they hit the street. So
Wonderful. And are services or resources limited to just veterans involved with the criminal justice system?
No, so my program specifically, that's a subsect that I specifically work with. But no, I mean, obviously, we have a lot of outreach services at the VA. So depending on what your situation is, any manner of an outreach team could reach you. We have homeless outreach, justice outreach, suicide prevention. So we have a lot of outreach to try to get everybody that we can, all the veterans.
Wonderful. So kind of like our Hopes team that we've regionalized with Sparks, as they're out dealing with some of those experiencing homelessness, they can link up with you. Or
Exactly.
as we start up our 811 for the suicide prevention hotline, they can link in hopefully some of those resources with you.
Yep.
Wonderful.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you for all that you do.
Yeah.
And so let's get on to Veteran Affairs to Troy and Donald. So a few questions, and they may, I've been told, kind of evolve around Donald, but we're going to jump to Troy too. So how would somebody register or go about registering for their benefits?
So one of the things we emphasize with veterans accessing VA healthcare benefits or education benefits, we know that every veteran has kind of a specific experience. We would like to engage with them directly so that we can provide them direct access based on that experience as well. General registration is possible through our web portal, which is va.gov. It'll answer a significant number of questions and can also provide them the ability to start the sign-up process. Oftentimes, eligibility might come into play, and understanding when and how they served, the duration of time, the period in which they served is going to be a determining factor whether or not they can access most of their services immediately. But the majority of folks who are recently discharged will be able to access very easily. We also encourage everyone to make sure that their DD-214 is accessible and safe. So, because that is the document that allows them to access services the most quickly. Beyond that, education benefits. I think we also have a question coming up about GI Bill that I'll just address directly.
Okay.
My program, the Veterans Integration Academic Leadership Initiative, is designed to provide direct outreach to student veterans. We encourage everyone who is going to utilize their GI Bill benefits, which are the general education benefit available to anyone who is honorably discharged, to engage with the school that they plan to go to. The Veteran Services departments that we work with at University of Nevada, Truckee Meadows Community College, Western Nevada College, and all the area campuses provide that direct service. So they assist with accessing the benefits and then certifying them so they make sure they get paid for it. Accessing most of that is a pretty easy process. We've had really good relationships with our campus partners for over 10 years. So we make sure that they have a direct conduit. And then at the same time, there are a lot of emerging programs for incarcerated veterans, but also folks returning to school. Along with the GI Bill, there's also the Vocational Rehabilitation Program, which has been renamed the Veteran Readiness and Education Program. And it's a quality program that assists with folks who are looking for a career change or need to make a substantive change from their military vocation into a new career path that will provide them the most benefit and get them into a stable process.
Donald, one thing I'd like to maybe expand upon is I did use the GI Bill. And one thing I think maybe some veterans don't know is that they get their basic allowance for housing rolled up into that as well. So that is an additional benefit, not just the education, but the housing component as
Correct.
well.
Yeah, the recently with some changes that were made to the post 9/11 GI Bill, it is now commonly referred to as the Forever GI Bill. Something that was changed was the first thing they provide is full tuition and fees, and then that housing allowance. Prior to 2013, any veteran who was accessing it had 15 years to use it. Prior to that, with the Montgomery GI Bill, they had 10 years to use it. Now, any person discharged after July of 2013 will be able to access their GI Bill benefits for the duration that they have allotted, which is roughly 36 months. They can use that at any point in their life until they until they complete their education.
Oh, that's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
That is. So another thing is, how does somebody find out what benefits or services they're able to receive?
So the web portal will be able to answer a significant number of those, but also we, as the outreach team, try to be out as much as possible to answer those questions directly. Like we say, everyone has a unique experience in the military, and oftentimes that really informs what they're going to be able to access. So we encourage everyone to try to find the nearest VA facility that provides outreach services, which includes the Reno Vet Center, the VA Medical Center down on Kerman, or any of the campus veteran resource centers. Most of those facilities will have personnel that can start that process of understanding what they get access to. If you have a 24 months of honorable service and an honorable discharge, you will likely be eligible for VA healthcare, but it depends on how long ago you were discharged and things like that. Because there are so many factors involved, we don't usually give general eligibility information, because then it muddies the waters, and we want to talk to everyone directly.
Perfect. And then a couple more questions. So how do veterans submit a claim for disabilities related to their active duty service, or they have disability compensation claim reevaluated?
So we have many partners that can assist with that, whether it's the community veteran service organizations like the Disabled American Veterans or Veterans of Foreign Wars. Nevada Department of Veteran Services, the state agency, provides direct service in this way. And if they have an existing compensation claim, or if they were looking for reevaluation, pretty much all of them have a specialist who will be able to answer those questions and get them started.
Perfect. And then one last one for you. Does the VA provide life insurance?
There is a veteran group life insurance program. It has a sunset for when it can be accessed. I believe it's 180 days from discharge. So recently discharged veterans would be able to access that. If I have gotten that timeline incorrect, I know for sure that one is available through va.gov, that they would be able to answer that question.
Perfect. And then Troy, what does the Reno Vet Center do? Tell us a little bit about them.
Yeah, so the Reno Vet Center, we're also part of the Department of Veterans Affairs. And really what we do comes from our history. We were formed after the Vietnam War to deal specifically with veterans who've experienced combat deployments. So, you'd have your Vietnam, Iraq, and Afghanistan now. And really recognizing that there's significant trauma that can come from the experience of serving in war. So they stood up a part of the VA, staffed it with veterans who served in combat theaters. And we're just designed to be an entry point for those people to access counseling services, to access all the services and information that Donald talked about. And we maintain our records separate from the main VA as well, to give them sort of, because there can be a lot of reasons people don't want to, seek counseling services, feeling like it could impact their rights or different things like that. So we set up an organization to deal specifically with that. And then we do all outreach together with all of these departments just to kind of find everyone. But as you hear, we all kind of have our specific things, which can be frustrating. I want to point that out for veterans, that if they access different points, it can seem like a lot. And so just know that all of us we all work together. We're going to try to find, sit down with us and find the way that we can get you to the services that you need.
And that probably is a great question I'll pose to you. What's one common theme when you're dealing with veterans that you see is probably one of their biggest frustrations, and it may be that access, or that you could kind of give some guidance to?
Yeah, I think, and so Donald and I do a lot of presentations to the community about how people access services. And I think when someone says just go to the VA, it can be very frustrating, where they access that point and what they're specifically looking for. So that first contact, unfortunately, can be discouraging. Maybe they went to the wrong clinic, or they showed up at the wrong place, and they interpreted that as that the VA didn't want to help them. So I would say if that did happen to you, please re-engage with us. We understand that happens. And we're happy to sit down with you. So that would be probably the biggest frustration, is that initial point of I went somewhere and I asked for something and they said, well, we don't do that here. And they interpreted that as, I can't help you. And so we hear that quite a bit. Also on the flip side, with veterans not wanting to seek services, because this is really big for us, they feel like they're taking away from other veterans. So they don't want to access because they think, well, there's other people who need this more than I do. And I would just say, that is 100% not the case. All of us want any veteran that can be enrolled to be enrolled. And the more people we have in the system, the more robust it becomes. But that's really big. And that's what prevents most veterans from accessing services, is they have sort of a guilt about that. So I wanted to touch on that too.
And that's something I remember we were talking before about the numbers and
Yeah.
the decline of 22 million
So when I began working in this job, roughly 2013, we had a population of over 22 million veterans. We've dropped down to 17 million and some change veterans that are still with us. And we serve roughly 9 million in the VA system nationally.
Yes, we want to make sure. I think that's a great
Yeah.
point. Is if you're a veteran out there, even if you're healthy,
Mhm.
go register and make sure you've earned those benefits. Make sure you have them. And one thing we were talking about is every 2 years they
Yep.
redo that. So if you haven't accessed, make sure you go back every couple of years to re-register and just make sure you're in there. So when you need them, they are ready and available for you.
Yeah.
Wonderful. All right, so let's go over here to Kim and Jeff. So being both serving our country, serving our community, as a veteran, what's it like to return back to the civilian life? And either one of you can jump in or feed off each other.
Well, before I answer that, Sheriff, I'd just like to thank you for giving a platform to the Northern Nevada Veterans Services and the Vet Center. There's so many veterans out there that there are resources for them that they don't understand they have access to. And that's what, why you did this. And I'm so appreciative because like myself and Deputy Sylvester, we didn't know about services when we got out, and I still haven't taken advantage of services. But that's why when I ran into Donald and Troy and started talking to them about bringing in Vietnam vets to our patrol officers and talking to them about PTSD and their return, to society after being in combat areas and what they experienced, and it helps both, right? Because it helps the deputies understand how to deal with veterans. And then it helps the veterans give back to those officers that are seeing crisis and critical incidents and stuff all the time. So I just want to say thank you. So I'll start with the answer to your question. Mine is a little bit unique because when I discharged out of the Air Force in San Vito, Italy. So I discharged from another country, and it was a pretty small communications base. And so I didn't have a lot of services, or they didn't do a lot of discharge planning with me when I got out. It was sign these documents and leave. And so it was unique. And then coming back to stateside after serving in Desert Storm and coming back to stateside, it was an uneasy feeling because I didn't really know what I was coming back to, because you've been gone, you've been out of, not only away from home, but out of the country for several years. And so coming back, it's a little uneasy. And you can only imagine what Vietnam vets and World War II vets and stuff like that came back to.
So after serving for 26 years, it was tough because I lost my unit. I lost my camaraderie. I lost my tribe, if you will, that connectiveness. Because Reno's not, yes, we have a guard base, but it's not an active community. So in that regard. And so I felt a little lost. And I wish I had gone to the vet center where that connectiveness to the military and reaching out to those that had served like me. Because I just, after 26 years and being with like-minded people, I was lost. I felt lonely, right? Fortunately, I came here, and it's a paramilitary organization, so it was an easy fit for me here. And I did take advantage of some of the benefits that I have. But I am going to go and see you guys, even though I am registered, and I did get my education through the GI Bill. I'm going to go see, because I do miss. It became so much of my life for 26 years. That connectiveness, I think it's really important. And I would encourage all the veterans, please seek them out, or other veterans, and make that connection still.
And so that kind of leads me to the next question is, what, if any, barriers did you face coming back into the civilian side?
I think one of the hardest things was translating my military career to the civilian terminology, right? And creating that resume that made me competitive for a job. And I did reach out to a resource officer that kind of helped translate some of that language. But I would encourage anybody that is struggling with that to, again, reach out to the veterans and help, because you did a lot while you served, and any of that training can be transferable to a civilian job.
I would say the barriers that I faced, I didn't recognize at the time when I was discharged. I was still a young man. I was interested in a career in law enforcement. Initially, right when I got back home, I knew I wanted to be in law enforcement, and the GI Bill paid for me to go through the High Sierra Law Enforcement Academy. But I thought that was it. I thought my GI Bill was done, and it wasn't until 11 years later, when I decided to go back to school, that they said, you only had 10 years to use it. And so I didn't know any of those benefits. So I'm still realizing that today. And that's why kind of we're doing this, right, is so that we can talk veterans into getting a hold of the Vet Center and the VA services to register and take advantage of some of the benefits, or at least know what benefits are out there that are afforded to you for your service in the military. Because you don't know what you don't know until you get a hold of them and say, does it give me additional health care? Does it give me education services? Does it give me mental health services?
Awesome. So I'm going to pose this to each one of you, and this will kind of wrap it up because I think this is important. So most of us here are veterans. Some of us aren't, but for those of the veterans, I want to ask each of you, what's one thing you would tell a veteran today, especially after serving? What's gone on over the last couple of weeks? What's occurred today? What you've seen helping veterans? What's one thing you tell them?
Narrowing it down to one thing, that in itself is a challenge. But just because you've stepped away from your unit and you're out of your comfort zone, and even if when you did get out, you were a little salty at your experience, that doesn't mean you're not still part of the group. You're not still part of the tribe. You might be out of sight, but you really aren't out of mind. And that military buddy you have, that guy you used to hang out with, that you still have his social media account or phone number, just reach out to him. He may be doing great. He may be struggling, but just knowing that reminder that you're not forgotten and keeping your veteran network strong is one of the most valuable assets that you have from your military experience.
Kim.
Sir, what I would say is, I know it was an honor to serve this great country, and there was a lot of pride I'm sure that you still hold in serving your country, and to always remember that you served and you should be proud of what you've done, and just take advantage, take that initial step to find out what benefits you can take advantage of, because you earned that.
Jeff?
Well, I would say that, again, as we've talked about, right, is that veterans are a small percentage of our population in the United States. And so I know for myself coming out, I had a great job, a career, great insurance, a family, and I always feel blessed, right? But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't take advantage of resources and services that are provided for you, because that's something, again, that I didn't know until recently, or never even really thought of, is that as a military veteran, you're a very small percentage of our overall population in this nation. And it wasn't until Donald talked about those statistics and how veterans are dropping off increasingly over these years, that it's important that veterans do register and do take advantage of these services, because, again, they fought for their country. They signed up. They did things that not everybody is willing to do. And it doesn't matter if you're Army, Air Force, Navy, Marines, Coast Guard. It doesn't matter what branch. You signed up and you served your country, that not everybody is willing to do.
Troy?
Don't wait. That's what I would say. If you're, we hear this all the time. I had the intention to go down to the VA. I had the plan to do these things. Please, if you're watching this, I encourage you to reach out to us. You can look up our localized information for the Reno Vet Center or the local VA and engage with us. We'll have that conversation, either Donald or I, with you and let you know what's available to you. So just please, make a date for that and make it happen.
Donald?
If you have served in the military, you just remember what you're capable of. If you're feeling like you're outside the tribe or looking for a path, they're utilizing your benefits to either engage in the school or change careers. You'll find the path that you want to be on. And there is a large network of people that are here to help you get to that point and reach that next milestone in your career. And we would love to come and see you.
Sue?
Yeah, so I would like to say, it's kind of echoing what Troy said in the beginning about if you've had a bad experience or you haven't felt welcomed at the VA, please give them another shot. The VA as a whole is trying to evolve and meet the needs of the current veterans and as well as the former veterans. So I would just say, please give us a try again because we want to get it right because you've earned the services.
And I'd say, on behalf of the Sheriff's Office, thank you for joining us. Again, don't send in your questions. Hit your notifications so you can stay connected to us. But coming up in September is Suicide Prevention Month. And after everything that's gone on over the last couple weeks and today, and over the last 2 decades, and this is the 20 year for 9/11, if you find yourself out there as a veteran or anybody, you're not alone. And if you're having issues, if you feel like you're isolated or you're lonely, just remember one thing. We have services here. We are here for you. And remember, no one fights alone. And so on behalf of all the men and women at the Washoe County Sheriff's Office, if you are a veteran out there, we want to say thank you for your service. See you next time.